Yeah, I'm just like a huge like obsessive music fan. So I was trying out while we are editing, like that's kind of like what I like to do during editing is edit, and then at night, just in my downtime, I'll like watch the scenes with no dialogue and just listen to different music and see what the different kinds of vibes from music, how it changes a scene, how it works or how it doesn't work.
Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Our Pass. Today I'm talking to Chris Sivertson, the director of Monstrous, which is coming to theaters and on demand on May 13th, 2022. We're going to talk to him right now. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll send a lot. Thank you. Awesome. So thanks so much for joining me. This is Chris Sivertson, the director of Monstrous, which is coming to theaters and on demand on May 13th, 2022. It is a horror movie with a great cast and a lot of visuals that you don't normally see in a horror movie. It's got a lot of bright lights, a lot of really idyllic imagery, and it's a very interesting film. So thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited too, just to understand more about how this came about. So the first question is, how did you get involved in this? I guess, did you see the screenplay or did you work with the writer beforehand? Like, how did you kind of come onto this project?
I just got the script blind through my manager. I didn't know the writer or the producers at all ahead of time. And I got the script and Christina was already attached because they had this script for a while and we're trying to get it made, and I think almost got it made a couple times. It didn't work out, and they got Christina Ricci attached, so she was attached when I got it, which was very exciting. And then I read the script and just really clicked with me, and I saw how I could bring like my sensibility. Like I saw just a lot of things that I could bring to the table, or felt like I could anyway. So I met with them and just really pursued the job pretty hard. And it ended up working out, and we were just off to the races. I think from the time I got attached, and we were shooting probably with 2 or 3 months later, probably 3 months later, relatively fast for an indie movie. But
that is amazing. Like it almost like fell into your lap, this like beautiful project with this star and this rapid production. It's almost like perfect, because usually you hear like, oh yeah, I got the script and then we were trying to find funding for like 2 years and we tried to get a star, and so it's almost like this is a perfect situation.
Right, like they had all that, but that all, like, so I missed all that part of it. And so when I came on board, it was like, okay, let's do this. And we started figuring out the brass tacks of, okay, where are we going to shoot this, what's our team going to be. And I was able to bring some great people I'd worked with before, and along with some new people, and just start trying to figure it out, because it's a period piece on a low budget, so we had to, pre-production was very intense, figuring out how we could pull it off. So it was nice to have missed out on all the languishing stuff of like, the script, is it gonna get made or not. When I came on board, it's like, okay, we're gonna do this, now let's figure out how.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you actually, so with Christina already attached, did you like have to meet with her beforehand to make sure that you like melded? I imagine she probably had some influence on the project as well, or was it something that she was just like, we trust, I trust who you get to direct, and we'll just make this project?
No, she had to approve me. So yeah, and as it should be, she's more than earned that right to make those sort of decisions. And so yeah, so and so we talked, and I don't even know, she watched something that I made, I don't know what it was. But yeah, so once she was okay and signed off on me, and then yeah, we just got to work.
For sure. And you mentioned this is a period piece and it was on a budget. Like, was your pre-production just like, hey, everyone, go up into your attics and into those sheds behind your houses and see what you've got? Like, do you have anything that looks, from the 50s or 60s? Like, how did you go about creating this, this idyllic world with this very, very intense, noticeable style on a budget?
It was really tough. The production designer did a fantastic job, because we need a lot of very specific things. And we shot in Los Angeles, and luckily in Los Angeles, there's just warehouses full of 1950s stuff at different prop houses and whatnot, because there's been a lot of stuff, very popular time period, even like in recent years, like a few years back, Mad Men went for a long time, and other shows, and so it's all that stuff is out there. But we really, the production designer really needed to work with the producers to allocate the money that she needed to get her job done. Like I said, it was a low budget movie, but she was really great about not only the creative aspect of it, but figuring out with them. I'm not really good with numbers and stuff, but she had that balance where she was really good with figuring out like how we can pull this off. And then like with the costumes, a great costume designer, a lot of those she just made from scratch herself.
Oh, wow.
She found these like cool, like back in the 50s, they would sell like dressmaking kits. They were like little packets and like of just paper things that you would show you how to cut out like the fabric. And so she just found like a lot of these really cool old kits like that, and then just designed some dresses herself, and sewed them, herself, and like for really low money. The cars, like we got just favors, the cars are beautiful. Luckily in California, there's a lot of really well maintained vintage cars. And then the location, the producers just kind of had to bite the bullet and pay for, that big farmhouse that we shot at. And the fact that the movie is kind of takes place in a rural area helped us a lot, to where we didn't have to create huge vistas of 1950s life, but keep it kind of small and contained. So it was really just like a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears from the production team, particularly in pre-production, where we were really trying to figure out how we could pull this off.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like, you were all very kind of industrious and very creative in how you got it done. I think I'm most impressed that you found a lake in Los Angeles, because my understanding is those those are very tough to find. So kudos to that as well.
Yeah, it's actually like a little man-made lake, and it's about 10 miles away from the house. We cheated it to make it look like it's right there.
Movie magic.
But it's totally this little lake that we found that a community is built around, and we only use like a little small part of it. And yeah, that was tough, because it was very specific in the script with this house, this isolated house, and with the lake right there. I always knew that we'd probably have to combine two locations there, but I really kind of fought for that house location, because that was tough, because that's also, it's Simi Valley, which is outskirts of Los Angeles, on a big ranch, because you look 360 and there's just nothing around there. It's just like the rolling golden California hills. And really pushed hard to get that house in the movie, because also it's not a real house, it's like a standing set. So then our production designer was able to go in there and completely redesign the inside of it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. And yeah,
Yeah.
I loved that location, because you can definitely tell it's California. Like, I knew it was in California, somewhere in Southern California, because it has, like you said, the kind of iconic look of rolling golden hills and a little bit of green here and there. So it definitely was a perfect location.
You'll now that you've seen it, you'll probably notice it pop up occasionally in other things. Like it's in Annabelle, I think 3, and it's occasionally, there's like a truck commercial that I occasionally see that it's in. So it's like because it's a very unique, beautiful place that's close by to LA.
I will keep my eyes open for it. And I like that you also mentioned that the isolated aspect does help a lot with the indie filmmaking, because you don't have to do as much for kind of the surrounding sets. I also noticed this film is really just kind of like an acting powerhouse performance by Christina Ricci, and then also the co-star Santino. How did you find him? Was he attached as well? And working with children in horror is always difficult. So was that also kind of tough to do? Were there any restrictions for his kind of schedule, or his limits on what he could film?
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting, because we got so lucky, because we shot this during the height of COVID.
Oh, wow.
And we originally had another kid who was gonna fly out. He didn't live in California, and he was gonna fly out to shoot with us. And on day one, we're shooting without him. And we get the call that before he leaves, he was going to leave, he tested positive for COVID. So we had to take a day off and just scour, with our great casting directors, just scour Los Angeles for the best young actors. And I did a bunch of Zoom auditions, working with a bunch of really great kids. I was surprised, how many talented little kids there were. But I just like, as soon as like Santino auditioned, it was just like, oh wow, this kid is great. And I gave him like some simple directions, and he totally nailed that. And he was just so like playful and vibrant. He wasn't he didn't seem like a little robotic kid actor who's trying to act like an adult. Even when he talks to you, he's just kind of like, he's just funny and playful. And I liked that. And he kept that on the set, that kind of attitude. And Christina was really good with him, former child actress herself. Mm-hmm. She's got a young son, and they just immediately kind of clicked, and we're always joking around with each other. And it was great. And also the isolated nature helped us pull this low budget movie off during COVID, when there's the extra expense of testing and all the PPP and all that kind of, protective equipment and whatnot. But so Santino was kind of like a gift to the movie from like the movie gods, it was just like so perfect. And it just seemed like that was the way that it was meant to be. Like he was meant to be in this movie. Everything worked out as it should, which is always great when that happens, because there's always so many things that go wrong. Like you said, like that, like seeming like a disaster, like, oh, we lose our child lead, day one of filming, seems like a disaster, but it turns out to be like, the best thing for the movie, because nothing against the other kid, I'm sure he would have been great, but I feel like just like Santino was just like made to be in this movie with Christina.
Yeah, I know that's such a pivot too, right? Because you only have so many days on an indie budget, and trying to like find someone else in a pandemic, trying to convince them that you'll all be safe. That must have been very stressful. But I think you all did a really good job, and I imagine it was really great for him, because I know my kids were just like chomping at the bit to do anything outside of the house. Yeah. And now he's like, I get to go make a movie in this beautiful location with these actors. Like, bye everyone.
Yeah. Exactly. He was fun, and he was always cracking up the whole crew. He would do like little dances and stuff like in between takes, and just had everybody laughing, which I always really like. It's like like if anytime like people can be enjoying themselves, that's great, because there's so much stress and so much problem solving, and I have kids too, and I always really wanted him to I haven't worked with like a lot of kid actors in movies, but anytime I do, I just want to make sure that they're like still like they're not getting stressed out, like they can still be kids. We don't work them too hard, like they can go have fun. I think that's just super important.
Yeah, for sure. I think this one is also a movie where you don't have to worry too much about him doing things that are outside of his limits, because it is a little bit more psychological. It's a little more kind of like about the mood rather than like gore and things like that. So he seems like, this seems like a movie where you're like, don't have to worry as much about him seeing something that's going to scar him for life. So
yeah, if anything, it was just sometimes he would start laughing, especially because Christina is really funny. She's like she's just like a hilarious person. So sometimes she would make him laugh. There's probably good, like bloopers if we're ever organized to like organized enough to find that stuff. But yeah, he kind of kept that kind of joyful spirit through it all.
Gotta save something for the eventual physical release as well, right? Some extra features.
Yeah.
The other thing I love, the style hit me early on, but the music also hit me as well. It kind of has all of your iconic type, 1950s, 1960s songs. Who was in charge of that? Or did you just like go through like classic songs and just kind of try to get as many of them as you can? Because there are definitely some recognizable ones.
Yeah, I'm just like a huge, like obsessive music fan. So I was trying out while we're editing, like that's kind of like what I like to do during editing is edit. And then at night, just in my downtime, I'll like watch the scenes with no dialogue and just listen to different music and see what the different kinds of vibes from music, how it changes a scene, how it works or how it doesn't work. So I would just do that and like slowly came together with this group of songs that for a while it looked like we were not going to be able to afford. Actually, up and really till like the last minute of the release, it was possible that we were going to have to replace everything with more of like kind of like phony 50s music. So I was really like, I'm still kind of amazed that we were able to pull off that. And I think that was just because at that point, the producers really believed in it. We got some help when we got the distributor to front some of the money for those songs. But yeah, like I've always been, like Buddy Holly's like voice in the movie is like really important to me. It's like his voice is just so beautiful and kind of haunting. And also like 50s, the recordings were so warm. Like the microphones, like it just sounds so beautiful. But also at the same time, like if you want to be slightly morbid about it, you're listening to dead people, but they're so beautiful. So like for a horror movie, it's kind of like you're listening to a ghost. Especially there's something about Buddy Holly's voice to me that is otherworldly. Like that guy died when he was 22, which is insane to me when you listen to his voice because he sounds like such like an old soul. Yeah, I don't know how a 22-year-old is conjuring like that kind of a sound. So the music was super important, and there was a lot of trial and error to end up with like the collection of songs that we ended up with.
And they're perfect. And I've never thought of 1950s music as morbid, but now I do. So thank you. The last question about the film is I loved the birthday scene with the like 1950s style food, like bologna, wraps and like Jello, everything. Who made that? And was that actual food? Did you actually get to enjoy that?
So yeah, we had a great prop master who put all that together, and it was actual food, but on a set things get gross pretty quickly, because with the lights and everything. So we were not able to actually eat it, and it quickly got kind of smelly. But it looks, I love that shot of just like looking at the table, like with like they had such weird little appetizers, like the bologna like wrapped with like some kind of cream or something, and like the little toothpicks. And it was fun business for Christina to like be adjusting everything perfectly, and the beautiful bowl of punch, like I love all those colors. And also like there's another simple little thing where in the movie she's making a Wonder Bread sandwich with bologna, and cutting off the crusts. And just, those kind of like little details, I just loved. I didn't grow up in the 50s, but just it's such like kind of like Americana kind of imagery that had a big effect on like pretty much all the decades since, and like American pop culture. But yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the birthday party. The birthday party was also just really fun to shoot because it was kind of freeform montage, and we had all the beautiful streamers shooting in slow motion. We like fogged up the room, and they just Christina and Santino just got to play around with all the balloons and everything. And then again, Buddy Holly, and that song carrying us through.
It was such a happy scene for eventually a sad scene. But yeah, I love the style. I love the setup for it. I know we have very limited time, so I'm gonna switch. I call it a lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things that happened in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. First question is, if you could live in any other time period, what would it be? Or you can pick this time period. Maybe this time period is pretty great because you have a movie coming out.
Yeah, I'd say I think off the top of my head would be 70s, because the movie making back then was so interesting in so many different ways, in all genres, in horror and also across the board.
Definitely a classic time, and you could make some really interesting films on some shoestring budgets back then. So
yeah.
Do you have a typewriter?
No.
All right.
No, something close. It's like an old word processor. Don't use it, but I still have it.
That works. That's the same kind of feel for it. Speaking of the birthday party, when was your last birthday party?
Oh, it's probably party. I mean, it's as an adult, it's mostly just been dinners. So I can't actually an actual party for me, like maybe like when I was like 21.
All right. And
So
I assume people
it's
came
been a
to
long time. Yeah, I was in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very interesting question. Because normally it's just going out to dinner now.
Yeah, normally
Like
it's
that's the big celebration.
going out to dinner without the kids. I completely
Yeah.
understand. When did you learn to swim?
One of my earliest memories is almost drowning. So I was really young. I was probably about like 2 or 3. But one of the earliest things I remember is jumping in the pool. I was jumping in my mom's arms and she got distracted for a moment and I went under and then she like turned back. It was probably like so quick, but I was very young. She was getting me in the water very early. So I think 2 or 3.
That is so fitting for this film as well. So
Yeah, true.
would you want to live by the water? Or maybe you do. Maybe you do live by the water.
I don't live by the water, but I love the water. Someone pointed out to me also that almost always have water in my movies. I love the water. When I don't feel well, I like to get in the shower. That's like comforting to me. So yes, I would like to live by the water. I'm also more most comfortable by sea level as far as like my allergies go. There's something about and like the pressure by sea level is like very like kind of like a natural state for me.
Perfect. Well, something to work towards in the future. And the last question is, whenever I heard those songs in this film, I thought of like Fallout 3 specifically, because every trailer has one of these 1950 songs. Have you played that game?
I haven't. No, I love video games, but I've never played Fallout.
Okay. A lot of the trailer, it has like a similar kind of Americana vibe among horrors type situation. So a lot of the songs matched. But if you haven't played it, you definitely should.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Awesome. And so the film is out on May 13th, 2022 in theaters and on demand. You're promoting it. You're getting the word out. After people see this film, do you have anything else on the horizon? Any other, magical projects fall on your lap with amazing actors that are fully formed, ready to go?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to be next. I'm in the process of remastering my first movie called The Lost to do like a re-release of that. The rights recently came back to me from Anchor Bay. That's a very different movie. It's very like aggressive and violent, almost polar opposite of Monstrous. So it's kind of fun to like look back at what I was doing. And, we shot that on 35. So we've scanned the negative and are gone through that whole process. So it's kind of fun to like go back and try to fix up something from the past to put it out again.
Sounds awesome. Well, I fingers crossed to see that. It'll be fun to see the contrast, like how far you come and like some of your original work. So that'll be really great to see as well. So thank you so much for your time. This is Chris Sivertson, the director of Monstrous. Again, it's in theaters and on demand on May 13th, 2022. Thank you so much.
All right. Good to talk to you. Thanks.
That was Chris Sivertson talking about Monstrous, which is coming to theaters and on demand on May 13th, 2022. It's an idyllic horror film with a great cast and a lot of elements you don't normally see in horror movies. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.